Good evening. This is January 28th, also known as Bob Garza's birthday eve, 2025. We're a few minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee. We appreciate you all hanging out. We're running a little bit behind, but appreciate you all staying here. We're going to begin our meeting as we typically do, and that's with a prayer and pledge. Tonight, providing the prayer is Brian Smart. He's the Minister of Young Adults and Community Outreach at First Baptist Church. Brian, appreciate very much you being here. Appreciate very much what you and your congregation do for the community. Going on 80-something years, I think, is the case. Okay, so please lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Father, we do thank you for this evening. We thank you for all the ones that make this city run. We do pray for them. We pray for wisdom. We pray for this meeting. Pray for wisdom for the decisions that will be made here, made in the future. Father, we just want to rejoice that you continue to look over this city and make this city one of the best cities to live at here in Tennessee as well as the United States. Father, we just want to praise you. We want to give you glory. We do uplift the Dallenbach family, Connie Cottrell and Rick Pratt this evening, and it's in your son's name we pray. Amen.
Again, that's Pastor Brian Smart with First Baptist Church, Hendersonville. Thank you so much. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the agenda. So moved. I have a motion from Alderman Skidmore, a second from Alderman Goodwin. Do you have?
I'm going to have an amendment.
Okay. Did you second the motion? Sure. Okay, super. I am going to ask you all, this is really more clerical, but I feel like I need to mention it to you. On item 2 under ordinance and resolution, that should say first reading. So I don't think we need to vote on that. I'm just making you aware of that. However, I would entertain a motion, Alderman Goodwin, when you bring up yours, that perhaps it include that we group items A and B under other agenda items. Okay, so Alderman Goodwin, go ahead.
Yeah, I will have an amendment on item number 3, Resolution 2025-01.
Okay.
And I also recommend that we group items 4A and B.
Do we have a second on grouping? Okay, we have a second from Alderman Sassy. Any discussion? All those in favor of grouping items A, B under 4, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion. That's approving the agenda with that one change. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we're on presentations. We have a couple people here with Holiday Fest. I'm going to turn it over to Larry, I think. Is that right? Okay. And he might introduce a couple other folks, but I'll come down and hang out with you all in just a second.
I probably don't need to move that. I've got a pretty good voice. So, but good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. Mayor, Board, thank you so much for having us in this evening. My name is Larry Phillips, and I'm the president of Holiday Fest. We have been around for 19 years, believe it or not now, and we are a nonprofit organization that puts on and helps with many events throughout Sumner County during the holiday season. Some of those events that we're going to be celebrating tonight are a presentation to our winners of the Cindy Lou Who contest and the Christmas parade. So each year, the Holiday Fest Board invites third graders of Sumner County Schools to showcase their incredible creativity and compassion by competing in the Cindy Lou Who essay contest. Students must write on the theme that is chosen that year, and this year, what act of kindness is your holiday tradition? These essays remind us what the holidays are truly about: kindness, generosity, and love. The Holiday Fest Board had the tough task of choosing winners from this year's inspiring entries, but tonight we celebrate 3 amazing young authors, all from Burris Elementary School. So we have in third place, Miss Mila Martinez. Mila's story was creative with a Seuss-style rhyme while she told us how she helps her family and others during the holidays. In second place, we congratulate Allie Gardiner. Allie's essay reminded us of the power of small, everyday acts of kindness that make a big difference, just like Cindy Lou Who. And our first place winner is Paisley Blackburn. Paisley's essay was well organized, showed extraordinary kindness through her words, and truly showed the meaning of giving during the holidays. Mila, Allie, Paisley, we're so proud of you, and thank you so much for your beautiful words and the meaning of Christmas. So let's give them all a big hand.
Sorry, gotta get a picture real quick. Picture didn't happen. That's how it works. Everybody ready? 1, 2. Got it. Thank you. Okay. Congratulations, girls.
Thank you, girls. Good job. Now on to the winners of the 2024 Christmas Parade and Tree Lighting Ceremony Awards. We had such an incredible display of creativity, energy, and holiday cheer at this year's parade, and we're excited to recognize the groups who made it truly magical this year. So we have 3 awards. The Originality Award goes to Stone Creek Memory Care for their unique and heartfelt float that brought smiles to everyone. The boss. And for the Best Performance Award, it is awarded this year to the HHS Band of Gold, whose music filled the streets with holiday, joy, and excitement. And finally, the Best Spirit Award is presented to Women Supporting Women, whose energy and passion for the season inspired us all. Thank you again, and thanks for your support of Holiday Fest.
Thank you, Larry. Next, we have a public hearing on Resolution 2025-04 on the Transportation and Capital Improvement Plan. We have nobody signed up for that one, so we're going to move on to the approval of minutes from our January 14th, 2025 meeting. We have a motion from Alderman Garza and a second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion on that? Alderman Robertson, discussion on that or the next item? Okay, go ahead.
I have every time that we get minutes, I review them for form and content. And so I have I think that the minutes need to be clarified. On page 8, if you will look at page 8, and Ms. Locke, if you would come forward at this time. On page 8, at the bottom of it, it states, Skidmore inquired by posting an example of Durham Farms needing to be paved in 10 or 15 years from now, whether the funds, and these are the voluntary impact fees that Durham Farms pays, could be used for that purpose. He has concern for using all the money for this project in case something comes up later. And in that, Mrs. Locke states that stating using the funds for paving could be applicable. And I just wonder, Ms. Locke, would you want to clarify that statement or add anything to it?
Yes, during the meeting when we were having that discussion, I was not familiar with the exact wording that would have been contained in that legislation previously to establish those fees. After the meeting, I did coordinate with Director Keith Free, and we reviewed that wording. And so I do not believe now that those fees would be applicable to maintenance or ongoing maintenance for Durham Farms. They were specific to off-site improvements only. With that, part of our normal development process, we do have performance sureties that we do hold through construction and then, of course, release after we accept. But those fees are different, and those would not be applicable to ongoing maintenance.
And typically, those fees are used for off-site improvements to
Those-
benefit the development.
Yes, that was specific to off-site improvements. It depends on the wording for the legislation or the requirement for those fees, and the wording for those is very specific.
Yeah, and the reason I think it's important for us to correct the content of the minutes, Mayor, for this is because I feel, and I know my fellow Alderman Evans feels this way too, that we want to protect those funds for the purpose that the citizens of Durham Farms have been promised, but also for Mansker Farms. We're going to be collecting some impact fees, voluntary impact fees from Mansker Farms, and I want to make sure that there's nowhere in the record that we believe that regular maintenance of paving roads is an applicable application of that. So I would like to make an amendment stating just what Mrs. Locke said, that Director Locke stated that using the funds for paving would not be applicable. So it would not be applicable.
Alderman Robertson, I appreciate that. What if we just struck that sentence?
Well, I think it's important to answer Alderman
point, good
Skidmore's
point.
question.
Okay.
He raised a good question.
Okay, good
And
point.
I think it's important for the record that
Okay.
that response be, unless you can convince me otherwise.
Okay, so what's your amendment again? So could not instead of could be?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. Do we have a second on that?
A second.
We have a second from Alderman Evans. Any discussion on that? Alderman Collins.
Sorry, but that isn't an accurate representation of what happened at the meeting.
Yeah.
So can we just put it like an asterisk and say, Director Locke later indicated that her statement was inaccurate and in fact it cannot be used? Because that wasn't what happened.
Alderman Robertson, how do you feel about that?
That's fine with
Okay.
me.
Okay.
I think an asterisk.
Okay, and then explain, Alderman Collins, what did you say? That Alderman Locke later?
Later explained that that was inaccurate information and that the fees are not applicable.
Okay. Alderman
However, Ms. Hunter words that I'm sure will be.
Alderman Robertson, are you okay with changing your motion?
Yes.
Alderman Evans, are you okay with that as your
Yes.
second? Okay, so Annette, what do we have?
Just put an asterisk.
Oh, I don't even have, there we go, okay.
We may need to clarify this a little further, but just at the end of that sentence, Director Locke stated using the funds for paving could be applicable. Just have an asterisk, say that Director Locke later explained that those funds would not be applicable for that.
Correct. And I would say just work with our city attorney on coming up with the proper way to notate that, to notate it.
Okay.
And then these minutes will notate it as well.
That's true. Good
Right.
point. Okay, okay. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Thank you, Alderman Robertson, Alderman Evans, Alderman Collins, and Sarah. Appreciate your help on that. Now we're back to the main motion to approve the minutes with that one amendment. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes with that one amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. We have one person signed up for citizen comments. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, that's me, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. Kimberly Overton, Glen Oak Court.
All right. Hi. It's been a while. Thank you, Mayor Clary. Good evening, Aldermen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Kimberly Overton. My address is 104 Glen Oak Court West. I come here this evening not only as a concerned citizen, but also as an ardent supporter of our city's first responders. First, I want to express my utmost respect and appreciation for the Hendersonville Police Department. Their dedication and service deserve every acknowledgement and resource necessary to perform their duties effectively. The proposed increase in their compensation is commendable. However, tonight I feel the need to address a pressing issue concerning the disparity in the proposed cost of living adjustments between our police department and our firefighters. It was brought to my attention that our firefighters are slated to receive a COLA of merely 1% this fiscal year, while HPD will be receiving anywhere from 3.5 to as much as 11%, depending on their rank. This stark contrast not only raises concerns about fairness and equity, but it also significantly impacts the morale among our brave firefighters. Firefighters are the first on the scene in emergencies. They risk their lives with every call, be it a fire, an accident, or a natural disaster. Their commitment to our safety is unwavering. It is essential that we reflect our appreciation for their service, not just in words every election cycle, but in tangible support. The current proposal unfortunately sends a message that could be interpreted as undervaluing their sacrifice and dedication. This not only affects their morale, but can inadvertently cause division among our first responders. HPD had received a justifiable raise in July of 2023 after a pay study revealed, a raise in July of 2023 when the 2024 fiscal budget contained a 5% increase for PD. Now, this occurred after a pay study revealed the disparity in salaries among city departments. But it is my understanding that such significant disproportion in salary increases cannot occur outside of a pay study year. I may be wrong on that, and please feel free to correct me. I also believe that there is an ordinance from 2004, and I apologize, I have not had sufficient time to research and review it, but from what I understand, it contains verbiage toward keeping income parity in similarly class positions throughout the city. It is crucial that we maintain a unified front to support all of our city's first responders, ensuring that they feel valued and supported. By doing this, this will have a direct impact on recruitment and retention, which we know is a widespread problem that all departments are facing. I would respectfully urge the board to reconsider the proposed COLA for our firefighters. Aligning their increase more closely with that of the police department will not only bolster morale, but also reinforce a message of equitable support across all public safety departments. As a former trustee for the National Coalition of Frontline Workers, which seeks to give a collective voice to the entire first responder communities and healthcare communities, I have worked very closely with all of these disciplines, and I will continue to advocate on their behalf whenever a need arises. In closing, I am hopeful that the city can find a path forward that duly recognizes and compensates all of our first responders for their courageous service to our community. Thank you for taking this critical matter under consideration and for your continuous commitment to the welfare of Hendersonville and its residents. I do truly appreciate the work that you guys do. Thank you.
Kimberly, thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is receive and file our fiscal year 2024 annual comprehensive financial audit. We have Ken and Julie here. So introduce yourselves, please. Tell everybody what you've been doing for the past year, since we haven't seen you in a long time. And
it has been a little while. I'm sure Tamara doesn't feel that way, but
yeah.
But that's right. Well, thank you, Mayor and Alderman, for some time at your meeting tonight. My name's Ken Youngstead. I'm with Kraft CPAs. Here with Julie Evans. Julie led our engagement team on the financial audit for the city of Hendersonville. So we have a brief report to give you tonight and want to be available for your questions. So there's two documents I think that have been provided to you. One is the results of the audit, just a paper form, not the comprehensive financial report itself. But a few brief comments I'll make on this document is that, this year we didn't have any new notable accounting policies. Things really look comparable to what you've seen in the past in terms of the presentation. We feel like you're using appropriate accounting policies and didn't have anything unusual where there was a lack of authoritative guidance, things like that. you know, pleased to tell you that we had a great experience working with your engagement team, or your team here at the city. You know, so appreciate all the support that you all have provided to allow us to go through our audit process. Do want to also share with you that we're required to be independent to perform the financial statement audit, and so we do a survey each year of our team members to ensure there's no conflicts that would preclude us from being able to give an opinion on your financial statements. Just another, you know, quick mention. You know, there's a few highlights that we'll go over, but all financial statements include estimates. Some of the most notable things are really like your pension liability, your, you know, depreciation on long-lived assets, other post-retirement benefits, things like that. So just know that as part of that. And then finally, in this document, we actually have the representation letter that your team sends to us. These are your financial statements. We provide opinions on those. And so some of that is covered in this representation letter as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie. Julie's going to make some observations about the financial statement document itself, and then we'll be available for your questions.
And I'm going to speak from this blue binder covered document. So when we come in and perform the city's audit, we audit under 3 different sets of auditing standards to do your audit. Generally accepted accounting principles. We do it under government auditing standards, as well as, because you all receive significant federal awards, we audit under that guidance as well. So you'll see in this packet 3 different opinions regarding the financial statements. The main one starts on page 1, which is about 5 or 6 pages into the document. The opinion is highlighted on the first page that just says your financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And that's an unmodified opinion. That's the kind of audit opinion you want. It does go into some different information about management's responsibilities, our responsibilities as part of the audit, and even your responsibilities as those charged with governance. So that information is there. And then, as I mentioned, the government auditing standards report is in the back of this document. Starts on page 103. That has to do with any internal control over financial reporting, things that we would need to report to you all. I'm happy to say we didn't have anything that we need to report to you all related to that. And then page 105 is the report on compliance with your major federal program, which this year was a transportation grant, was what we reviewed. So all of our testing didn't indicate anything we felt we needed to communicate to you all. So all good news. Inside the financial statements themselves, if you wanted to get kind of a quick overview of the activity for the year, I would focus on your management's discussion and analysis. It starts on page 5. This is something that Tamara prepares for us. That's included in there, pages 5 through 15. It compares current year versus prior year and gives some verbiage about the changes over the course of the year. I will point out the first few pages of the financial statements themselves are what's considered the entity-wide full accrual financial statements. What follows that is your fund statements, which are the basis that you all budget and review information. So that starts on page 18, has information for your general fund and your other funds that you all look at there. Your general fund is the main fund that you all operate out of. I know we look periodically at the fund balance in that area. So if you were to look on page 18, the total fund balance of your general fund is about $38 million at the end of this year. It's up about $626,000 compared with last year, and that doesn't include any bond issuances or anything like that that inflates that number. We look sometimes at the unassigned fund balance portion of that as a % of your budget to see how much you would have in reserves. I know that number's fluctuated a little bit over the last several years. You all have been making a conscious effort to put more, trying to build up some of those reserves, and last year added a few categories of assigned fund balances for your infrastructure reserve, the rainy day, and public safety, and so those numbers continue to grow. I know in the previous meeting, there was mention of using some of those for a project, but that information is there. I know Tamara has plenty of information too if y'all have questions about the fund balance, but overall, the city is in good position, both entity-wide, which includes all of your assets and liabilities, capital assets, things of that nature. Page 16 shows a net position for your governmental activities of about $138 million this year, which is up $17 million from last year. The bulk of that is in the net investment in your capital assets. You had a lot of capital asset additions during the current year, so the bulk of that went into that category, but there was an increase in your unrestricted net position as well. So those are all things that contribute to the long-term security of the city.
Ken, Julie, did y'all have any findings?
We did not have any findings, and you can find that on the very last page.
I know, but I wanted y'all to say
I know. I'm going to show it to you, though.
Yeah.
That's on video.
Yeah.
So here it is. It's blank. There were no prior year findings. There's no current year findings. So all good things.
Do we have any questions for craft CPAs? Yeah, thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Oh.
We do not use it in our financial statements. We round
I noticed
everything
that.
to the dollar.
Yeah, I noticed that. Is that a statement
Rid of
that
them
you're
a while
making?
back, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
It causes rounding issues.
So, get rid of them.
Any other questions? Okay.
See you next
Yep.
year.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank y'all. Next, we have Resolution 2025-04. This is a resolution for the 2025-2035 Transportational Capital Improvement Plan. Alderman Robertson.
Moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Robertson, a second from Alderman Goodwin. Alderman Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. Today is a landmark day for our city. Tonight, we have a chance tonight to really do something special. For the first time in our city's history, we're about to vote on adopting the objectives and a weighted ranking methodology for a 10-year transportation plan. The vote tonight moves the plan forward on the transportation plan that will address long-festering traffic problems caused by our city's growth over the last 20 years. It gives the mayor and the staff the criteria to objectively evaluate critical infrastructure projects that will improve safety, decrease congestion, and improve circulation in the city. And also make specific recommendations to BOMA in the upcoming budget for specific projects from the plan. It is a data-driven plan. In the past, our city has addressed traffic congestions reactively. Conversely, this plan is proactive in its approach. For citizens complaining about traffic, here is a plan to address it. I don't want to make any illusions. It's not a quick fix. Rather, it's a systematic approach to address traffic problems, but it is a first step. I'm proud, Mayor, to inform you that the Capital Projects Committee unanimously recommends BOMA to approve this resolution. I would also like to thank the COO, the Planning and Public Works Departments for their role in putting together this plan. I have a little experience in such a plan. In 1990, I was vice chair of a statewide plan that looked at making recommendations on improving the telecommunications infrastructure, which was the beginning of the information highway. But tonight, we're looking at a different kind of highway. Now, I know I'm a policy wonk, but I have to admit, in scope, in detail, and the potential of this plan is impressive and impactful if implemented. I believe years from now, the signature achievement of this BOMA will be this plan, if we have the courage to implement it. I hope that all of you will support the resolution, and with that, Mayor, thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of resolution I'm sorry, Alderman Bergdorf.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Okay, thank you. I was just out here looking at the plan and investigating the plan. I love the idea that we're going to have a criteria. Your Public Works Department discussed it this evening, and it's great. Now, one thing I did want to ask about was the roundabout is still in here at Drakes Creek and Anderson in improvements. Creation of a roundabout or alternative. Okay, I see that. To improve intersection between Drakes Creek Road. So the alternative is still alive, correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Bergdorf. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you. My only question, I have a couple of questions or comments rather, and I'll close. I'll ask the questions first, and then I'll ask or I'll make my comments later on. But okay, so when we had our capital projects committee, and I'm glad that Alderman Bergdorf, because I wasn't even going to say anything about it, because I figured it was the same thing that we were talking about. So the intersection there that we all voted against is still in the project list to look at. When we told the people of Hendersonville that we weren't going to put it in there, I'm kind of concerned about, because that is the very same thing. Well, before I say that, I will ask before I say what I'm going to say, because it's not going to be nice if I'm right, I can tell you. It's not going to be nice. But the intersection that we all voted against, not all of us, but 8-5 voted against, is still in this section of these improvements. And I guess I need to talk to Sarah about it. Why is it still in there if we voted it down 8-5? And I think some of the aldermen up here swore up and down that no, we're not doing anything, but yet it's in here.
There still is some traffic improvement that's needed in that area, and so that's why we renamed it from Drakes Creek Roundabout to Drakes Creek and Anderson Improvements. We left roundabout in as an option, or alternative. So the thought is some type of offsite improvement does need to happen there, and that's why we're accepting the proposals and reviewing those for a traffic study to evaluate for alternatives.
All right. I'm going to say that. Okay, thank you. That's it. I appreciate your forwardness on this. But this is the exact reason why people distrust government. Because we said one thing last week when we had our meeting in capital projects, and then I turn on Alderman Bergdorf, and I happened to look at it, and I said, what? And it's sitting right here again. So in essence, it's the same thing. It's not going to interfere me voting for this project, and I'll add my comments to the last. But this right here, that's the reason why people distrust government so much, because what we're seeing is we get up here as a whole and we talk out of both sides of our mouth, saying, "Nah, don't worry about it. We're not going to do it." Well, we're going to put it in our project list anyway. What is that saying? What is that as a board or as a city government saying to the people of Hendersonville? Or what is the government, the city government, saying to the people that vote for us up here? There's where the distrust goes. That's strictly my opinion, and I think it's a valid opinion, but it just proves the point what I was saying. That's why people distrust government, and we've got to get away from that. Our nation is trying to get away from it. Our city needs to get away from it too, because the distrust is coming from the top all the way down, from the United States of America to Hendersonville, Tennessee. You know, I always make the big joke about, well, you know, they say, well, Mark, you know, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm an alderman. I'm just above dog catcher. You know, and I always make that as a joke. But it's a little more serious than that when I sit here and look at all these millions of dollars that eventually is going to be spent in this town. I will not be here. I will probably, by the time some of these projects, I pray that I will be in heaven, and I will be looking down, and I will look and I will see some of my other colleagues that are going to be with me, and I'll say, guys, I told you so. But it just bothers me when I see this, because I tell you right now, I'm going to get calls on this. They're going to say, well, you just passed that, and there you go, Skidmore. You know, you represent people that are not being forthright. And I go, what am I supposed to say? Now, that's the bad stuff. Now I'm going to kind of put the good stuff, and then I'll close, and that's all I got to say about that stuff. Unless somebody wants to challenge me on something, and I always look forward to that anyway, most of the time. Most of the projects in here, I really think, are forward thinking for our city. We've always had ideas in the city since 1989 or 87, 89. We started things like this, but we never put it in print. We always talked about it. And this is the first time that this has been something that's been a reality for the city. And I believe in it. I do. Not all the projects they've got in here, I don't believe, because I believe our growth is going to change in our city. And some of these projects will have to be put on the back burner, and some of the projects will have to come forward because of the needs of the city have changed. If you would have asked me in 1989 that the Chenault property was going to turn into Indian Lake Festival or Indian Lake Center or anything like that, I would have looked at you and I would have laughed at you. I'd say, no, you're crazy. They're going to be in the county. But that changed. The growth came to Hendersonville. And it changed completely, and now look at it. You know, I'm proud of the fact that came. I look at Glenbrook, and if you would have asked me back in the day about Glenbrook, it was approved by a 7-6 vote, believe it or not, because I was on the board. And believe it or not, I voted against it. But it still won 7-6. Glenbrook, and look how much it's changed now. Look at all the stuff that we have. It was all farmland. So the growth of the city does look at this stuff, and it takes care. I mean, with these projects that we have, it's going to take care of a lot of that, and I'm proud of that fact. But I'm proud of not just and I know this is not a slap, but it's just not a committee I'm proud of. Just like some of the things we do in Public Works that I'm chairman of. I'm proud of the committee, the way they do things. But I'm proud of this Board of Aldermen because you have the foresight to see, and you know you're not going to be here, but you put this on paper to prove, to look back that people, when you're gone, when we're gone, and you can look back and say, they can go back and say, they saw it. And I'm proud of that. And I really kind of look forward to that day when we're all gone and they'll still look at this paper and they'll go, they saw it. They were visionary. I mean, I'm not going to say we're visionaries, but they can say that if they want to all day long. but we have the foresight, this board, and the boards that I was able to serve on before this board that had the thoughts, but we were able to put it on paper and move forward with it. So I do want to thank this whole board for what they've done, and I really appreciate working with each and every one of you, because you do have what I consider the visionary for the city, the vision. And Mayor, especially with your office as well, you've put this thing on paper, and you've proven that you do have the vision that what you want this city to be. And I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderman Skidmore. Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Alderman Evans.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want us to all just keep in mind that this transportation plan is a 10-year plan. It's a plan looking into the future. And again, I have to applaud the staff in the work that they've done on this, and I appreciate the criteria in which they looked at all of these things. So these are things, and yes, they may change over next year or whatever, but this is a guideline of how we're going to do this. It keeps us from having to be necessarily reactive and being more proactive and looking at those areas. So I do want to come back and I appreciate the comments, but I do appreciate the staff making the change to where it says Drakes Creek at Anderson improvements, because if you go and you stand out there or you drive by there for any length of time, you'll see that safety and traffic flow is a concern there. 9,000 cars go through every day, and I've even thought about, am I going to take a day and I'm going to sit out there in my chair and I'm going to count the cars? But we're on Drakes Creek, and I can guarantee you that during the school time hours, I can sit there and I can count probably 200 cars that go there in probably 10 minutes. So what I want us to look back, and I do disagree with the comments that were made. I don't think that we're negating on what we said when we voted on this, and we voted as a whole group. And yes, some of us did disagree with that, but we leave out of here as one body in that we support what was voted on. I don't think we're doing anything that's being a disservice or changing our minds or lying, if you want to go that far, to our citizens, because whatever happens, something needs to happen there at Drakes Creek and Anderson. There has to be some improvements there, because we left roundabout in there, but it has alternative ways to improve that. Something needs to happen there, and so I think we need to leave it in there, and it will come up to vote. I think that and the priorities in which we've done this, those can change as well. If we, as a board and the staff, determine that, okay, this is not the one we're going to move on, we don't have the funds or whatever, we'll move to something else that's on that line. So I agree that we need to leave this in here. It says Drakes Creek at Anderson improvements. That is exactly what it is. How we go about doing that can be different, but this needs to happen. It's a very important piece that we need to address, because it does affect traffic flow and safety. And you'll hear from the residents in those areas if you don't do something there. It doesn't have to be a roundabout, but something needs to happen there.
Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say that the work and effort that was put into this is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there was a lot of time, and thank you, Alderman Robertson, for championing this, because this document has been long overdue, much needed for our city, and it really, the staff did a great job just designing it, building it, making it very easy to understand, and I really appreciate everything that went into this. It's fantastic. And it was collaboration between multiple departments on this as well. Now, going back to, I wanted to provide some clarification, since we're talking about item number 3, is it, for the Drakes Creek and Anderson Lane. There were comments made last time we met about an alternative plan, and that that plan hadn't been offered yet. Full disclosure, I'm the alderman that has that plan. And there's an agreement that we'll meet up with the county to pursue that plan. I tried reaching out to them today and did not receive a call back. Left a message for the chairman of the Transportation Committee and have not heard back from that individual. But Sarah, Ms. Locke, if you could I have a question for you. It's really quick. You mentioned that there's a consultant that's reviewing multiple options for that area, and I was wondering where we are with that review.
Staff are evaluating proposals from consultants. So no consultant has been selected. There's no contract in place, so none of the work has begun.
Okay. And that consultant, so you and I have reviewed the alternative plan that I had created, right? And I'm no engineer, so I want to preface that, make sure everyone knows. So I don't know the viability of this plan, but when we met here at City Hall, it looked like a plan that had some potential, but still required county approval. Is that right?
Yes, it would.
Yeah. So this was before the decision had been made by the city to pursue a consultant to review those options.
Yes.
Right? Once I was made aware that a consultant was reviewing them, did I mention to you that we'll just put a hold on it for right now until we find out how the consultant comes back?
Possibly. I'm sorry, I don't remember that detail, but
Okay,
possibly.
that's all right. I remember that I did because it doesn't make sense for me to pursue an option and go into the work of discussing with the county until we have sign off by this consultant that it is truly a viable plan. Now, is that plan going to be addressed from by the consultant that I had provided?
The request for proposals that we issued required them to evaluate a multitude of options, so including signal warrants and any alternatives that had been considered previously. But, I mean, they'll be evaluating the existing conditions based on data and making recommendations.
And Jess, you can probably help answer this. So maybe to give you a full answer, do you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I think from an evaluation standpoint, there's a lot of work going out just to get a consultant selected for the city. So as we go through that process, we will continue to look at what we can do in that area. And I do want to point out, it wasn't, with regards to that project being in the list, it was at my direction. It wasn't at Sarah's direction or Keith's direction to have that project in there. Because what this plan does is it really approves the methodology, right? It doesn't necessarily approve a list that says we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what BOMA is going to approve via the budget. So none of these projects can actually happen if we don't have the budget dollars behind them. So because we have that in the works, we did want to keep that in the plan for now because the criteria is what we're adopting, and that criteria is still relevant to that intersection. So that's
I don't think anyone denies that that intersection needs repair. Something needs to happen there, and I've said it myself that it is. There's a lot of traffic going through there. It's only going to get worse. We need to do something there. This board just decided that a roundabout wasn't the right option, so we're looking at alternatives.
Yeah, and there will be some updates that happen periodically. So at the last capital projects meeting, there was a motion to switch project 9 and 10. So we just decided to leave the transportation plan in draft format till we're done with tonight. We'll make it a final version. But even with the resolution, it gives the staff the ability to go in and update the list, the ranking of the projects based on the methodology. So if cost changes on a project, we'll plug new cost in, and the ranking may shift, right? If a project goes up $10 million in cost, it may bump to number 5 instead of number 4. So what you're approving with the resolution would be the methodology and not the list. The list will get approved, and the priority will really get approved through the budget process.
So that brings me to another question I was going to have, but this document is not set in stone, right? It's a living and breathing document. It can be modified, it can be updated, new projects can be added, projects can be taken away. Is that accurate?
It is. The only thing staff would not mess with is the actual criteria, the 6 criteria points and the weighting of those.
Which the board voted on and adopted,
Yes.
specifically those 6 criteria.
Yeah, so that's what we would use, and as costs change, obviously project ranking will shift.
Yeah, and there's no question about the criteria. The criteria is very accurate. I like how it was implemented. Like I said at the beginning, this is very well put together, very professional. I love what we did here. So when, that's all I had. Thank you. So just want to make sure that this board and the citizens were aware that I still fully intend, with the assistance of the city and of any alderman who wants to assist, to go to the county and present this plan if we have buy-off. But I'm not going to spend time and energy to pursue something at the county if it's not a viable plan. So at this stage of the game, there will be no actions taken on any plan from myself with the county until we receive a viability report from the consultant and from the city. So we're still several months out, and when that does happen, I will be the biggest supporter of whatever plan makes sense and is financially viable and is good for the people in that area. That's all I had.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo what's been said here tonight about how what a wonderful job has been done and how professional this looks, and the methodology is there. And again, I want to say that it is a fluid document, and it will be a moving target, and that's fine. But our methodology is documented with all of the research and data that has been done, and all the heat maps that are in the report will guide the future boards. So with having said that, Mayor, what can we do about getting back to the ordinance and approving the plan instead of the weeds in the plan?
It's just adopting the resolution, and then when I propose a budget, and then when the board considers that budget, that's when we start implementing it.
I'm talking about tonight.
Oh,
getting
tonight?
back to the point of the ordinance, which is to adopt the methodology in the plan.
Okay, so right now it's just a resolution.
Okay.
So and by passing that, we are adopting the methodology.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Alderman Dixon. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2024-04, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on the first reading ordinance 2025-01. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 4, Chapter 3, Section 4.303, approving the repositioning of field training responsibilities within the Hendersonville Police Department. Alderman Goodwin.
Say that this ordinance passed through public safety with a positive recommendation.
And you're making a motion at this point, is that right?
And I'm making a motion.
And
Yes.
do we have a second? A second from Alderman Dixon. Alderman Goodwin, thank you for reminding us about how it passed the Public Safety Committee with a unanimous recommendation. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving first reading of ordinance 2025-01, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on to Resolution 2025-01. This is the resolution to apply for the Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response, a SAFER grant, through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Alderman Garden. A motion?
Moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Garden and a second from Alderman Goodwin. Sure. Alderman Goodwin, go ahead. I'm going to quit calling on you if that's...
I need to make an amendment to the resolution. There was an error in here. If you go to page 93 to the resolution, down in the bottom paragraph, It says to increase the fire department staffing for 6 new employees. That is incorrect. It needs to be 9 employees. And this passed public safety with a positive recommendation.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? A second from Alderman Garten. Any discussion on that amendment? Alderman Sassy.
Thank you. And this is for one of the sponsors, probably Alderman Goodwin. Does this have any cost for the city?
It does not have any cost for the first 3 years, and after the 3rd year, the city picks up all the cost. This will pay for the firefighters. If we're awarded the grant, it will allow the fire department to hire 9 new firefighters at no cost to us for 3 years.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you. Can I ask, I don't know if it's Alderman Goodwin that would answer this, or Chief Bush, but how did we come up with 9?
We discussed in public safety, Valerie did some graphs and charts, and there were some days, quite a few days, that the fire department was pretty lean with their staffing. And we felt like if we could give them 9, it would ease up some of their shortages with people being on FMLA training. If Chief Bush wants to come up and explain it better than I did, but we felt like that would take a little bit of pressure off of them.
Yes, there was some information provided through the data analyst with cooperation from the department that kind of highlighted that we were 9 behind as far as balancing staffing for injuries, illnesses, vacancies, and then, of course, Kelly Days, covering for Kelly Days as well. And so it's just a cumulative thing. And then we had several folks this year that had vacation carryover that the mayor granted permission to carry over as well. So they're not being able to use their awarded time off.
So how soon would you be in the hiring process for these?
Well, so
if you receive the SAFER grant?
We've exhausted all of our lists right now. We've got 5 in the queue to go to the academy February 24th for the 4 vacancies and the gentleman that's retiring in June. We've graciously been added a 5th position for that. So with that being said, we're going to create a new list as soon as the weather breaks and is good. We'll test, create another list, and if we get awarded that grant, we'll start moving forward. Hopefully, the next academy is in August. That's when we would shoot to get those folks onboarded.
So when will you know that you have the grant?
It just depends with the federal government. Again, they've not released anything about turning in for or applying for. We're looking for the end of this month, which is just a few days away. And typically, it can be up to 8 to 10 weeks. With a new change, obviously, there's a lot going on the federal level. So it might take a little bit longer, but hopefully within a couple of months.
So you're going to have to help me with my memory here. I know that we've applied for this grant and received the same grant standards several times in the last 5 years. Is it every year that we've done
We have applied quite a few times. 2019 was the last time we actually were awarded one we got for 19 firefighters.
Okay.
And we've not, yes ma'am, we've not got one.
I started on this board in 20, and I think we asked for 3 that first year.
That may be correct. Don't hold me to
Was
that.
it 6 in 20? I thought that was in 22. In 2020, I think it was 3.
But we've built Station 7 since then, obviously, too, which
Yeah.
took staffing to man or operate that station.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Bergdorf.
Yes, may I ask, what is the dollar value to this? Does anybody have any idea?
We figured $100,000. That's the high end. That's us taking education. If they come to us with a degree, they already have certifications. We figured on the top dollar amount because we'd rather have money to give back to the federal government than cut short and have to come back and ask you folks to help fund that. So we're shooting about $100,000 for salaries and benefits.
And I think Alderman Dixon asked when this is to take effect. Did you? You did? Okay, what was I'm sorry, I didn't.
So hopefully we'll be able to apply by the end of this month, just a few days away, and it could take 8 to 10 weeks to get.
That's what I was Okay,
It
8
could
to 10
take a couple of
weeks.
months. Yes,
Okay, a
sir.
couple of months before we know anything,
Yes, sir.
whether you've whether you've been
Whether we've been
accepted,
granted the, yes,
granted
sir.
the grant or not.
Yes, sir.
So it's nothing definite.
Absolutely not.
So do we, I don't want to speculate, never mind. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Alderman Collins.
I'm a little off topic, but I can't not take this opportunity to offer condolences. And for you, your staff, the family, everyone. And I did want to ask you a question about, I know this is off topic, guys, but 5 seconds, I promise. The line of duty death was granted. Can you explain pancreatic cancer as line of duty death?
So it's not been accepted yet. It is in the process. Well, the state, we will apply, or Denise, Don's widow, will apply to the state. We've helped her along the way with that. I met with the mayor, Jesse, and Lance with the ability to do that. There's no harm with me doing what I'm doing to apply for that for his family. She's going to do that tomorrow. I'm meeting here at 9 o'clock in the morning to have the piece of paper notarized that I have to fill out for Don and his family. That'll be submitted through the state from Denise and her family, and then we'll know. I've also applied to the federal government for the public safety officer's benefit as well. I finished that application today. That might take a few days, and then of course Don had some benefits through the city, a supplemental life program, and then an insurance policy that the city offers that he could have some extra money come in as well. As far as pancreatic cancer, it's not on the Barry Brady Act. He has initially been declined a workman's comp claim for that, but I will say, as I said the other day in my email, we've asked state legislators and state reps to get behind adding pancreatic cancer. And all the physicals we've been doing for all the years, nothing showed up in Don's physicals. Obviously, we don't know that information. Don has to share that with us. He shared that with me once he became ill. There was no indicators. So I would say probably coming up in this year's budget, I'm going to be asking to add some scans for our staff to try to catch these types of things in the early onset so we don't suffer from another incident like this. Not so much that we're trying to keep them on the job. I just want recognition. Early recognition can go a long way, and that's Don's wishes for us as a department and us as a city, and I fully expect to fulfill that for Don and his family.
Chief, thank you. Alderman Evans. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification. So this is just permission to apply. This is not obligating us to add this to the budget or receive the revenue until we know for certain.
Right.
And then one other thing I just wondered, in going through the budgets and everything, so would this or might this help alleviate some of the overtime?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Appreciate that. Alderman Goodwin. Thank you, Alderman Evans.
Could you just let everyone know how many hours of overtime you carried over this year?
How many hours of overtime? I know we blew through $90,000 in about 5 months of this year's budget, and we've asked, and they've put it in the mid-year to adjust that for the remainder of the year. We've spent about $90K in about 4.5 months.
I just wanted the board to know why we requested 9.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Alderman Goodwin, thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment changing the 6 to the 9? All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion. All those in favor of Resolution 2025-01 as amended, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to other agenda items, and earlier when we set the agenda, we decided to group A and B. So I need a motion to approve the reappointments of Scott Robinson and Clint Cassidy, the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. We have a motion from Alderman Robertson and a second from Alderman Sassy. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to reports. Let's go to Chairman Sassy for the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Well, we had a jam-packed meeting today. Most of you were here. You know all about that. So it was in regards to Ordinance 2025-02, which is the budget amendment, the mid-year budget amendment. And the primary discussion was around the COLAs and the increase in pay for the staff and for fire and police, and the At the end of the day, we decided that there's some areas of concern that we had, but we wanted to bring this to the full BOMA so we could really get some real time talking about it as a group on really how to handle those disparities especially between fire and police, but also amongst the entire staff. One of the concerns was that a mid-year budget doesn't typically give such a significant COLA all at one time, especially since this is a lasting impact. So I'll be curious to hear your input in 2 weeks on that ordinance. Thank you.
Chairman Sassy, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, thank you. Well, we had a spine-tingling Public Works Committee meeting. I mean, we had a great one. The mayor was in attendance. Jesse was there. I mean, we just had a great meeting. It was so fun that I just can't wait for the end of the month for the next one. So in tonight's meeting, we had a resolution that's coming to the board dealing with the field use, the policy within the city parks. And when that comes forward, I'm sure that we'll have Andy Gelly to come forward and discuss it. It's something that probably needs to be done. And it's dealing with the shutdown of the parks, where people can use where organizations can use part of the park some of the time and things like that. But that's coming in a couple of weeks. We've got another resolution that's coming before you, but it's one of those barn-burning resolutions accepting dedication of a completed street in Waterford Village. That's coming to you as well. Then we also have something that's definitely new to Hendersonville that's coming, and it's going to be exciting for us. Actually, I'm not even sure this comes to the board, but it's about flashing yellow, the arrow signals that we have on Main Street, where sometimes, when it's flashing, you'll be able to go instead of, the red and green. I know it's not complicated, but maybe it is for me. But when it's flashing, it's caution. You just can't arbitrarily go ahead and turn, but it's like you're flashing lights at night, and you can look and see, and if and if it's clear, you can go. Hopefully it'll reduce wrecks that happen, within the city, but it's going to be happening not all of our street lights, but some of them. So just kind of be looking forward, looking at them, and when you see it's flashing, said, "Oh yes, Skidmore told us about this at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen," and we're going to put it on social media as well as the newspaper. We're going to be doing that, so we're looking forward to that as well. We did have a trash collection update. We had some serious things that we had during trash collection because of the weather, but some areas were not collected as they thought, but they came back and took care of it, cleaned it up. So we had a little mishaps there. I had some calls on that as well, but we've taken care of that, and hopefully, in the coming months, we've probably got maybe a month or so of cold weather, and then it'll start. Spring will come around, and then if we have more misses, then you can really get on to me about that, and we'll see what we can do about taking care of that. We also talked about our light synchronization plan, which is still ongoing. We're waiting for TDOT and waiting for approval of our documents that have been submitted, and hopefully here in the near future, it's still on budget. Everything's cool, but hopefully with the new change in TDOT, we'll get some things moving quickly. But our traffic is doing well. I mean, I know we have a lot of traffic back up still, but it's not near as like it used to be. So that's about it under under this week's or this month's Public Works Committee, and I look forward to talking about it next month. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Chairman Skidmore, thank you. Next, our Bowman report from our COO, Jesse Eckenroth.
Thank you, Mayor. I typically don't go back to an item on the agenda, but I am going to for a minute to talk about the capital improvement plan. One is, a lot of this vision was initially cast by Mayor Clary, and so I want to thank him for that. Alderman Robertson absolutely helped us navigate the public process and how we go through it. So thank you both for that. But really it was the bulk of the work and the heavy lifting was on staff. The way that the packet looks and feels is really Casey going back through, I don't know what we've done, 10 revisions of this. We went to Sarah and just said, hey, you have to be really smart and figure out all the criteria. We don't really know what to do, so good luck with that. And she was able to come up with something that was, very well thought out. And Keith managed the whole process. So behind the scenes, Keith kind of drove when we met, how the progress went, how the document flowed together. We didn't go out to get an estimate, but I would assume this would be in the $100,000 range for a document like this that, mostly Casey, Sarah, and Keith were able to put together, under the kind of the vision and the guidance of, Mayor Clary and Alderman Robertson. So I really want to thank them. I think that we will be able to use this for years and years to come, and it probably saved the city, around $100,000 to do this in-house. So I'll get back to my report. If you go on page 108, sales tax is trending strong, so that's a good sign. Expenditures on page 109 are trending basically as expected. A couple folks have brought up the police calls for service. The chart kind of spiked, and that is just because there was a reporting difference between how Chief Jones and Chief Miller put in calls for service. We not having a spike in crime, that simply we are tracking every single call that comes in, whether it's an internal call or an external call, so that's really just the difference in police calls. If you go to the next page, Jason, you'll see the blue in the top on that column graph. That blue is the police calls for service, and then the red is the fire calls for service. So you see the blue is about 29,000 compared to where it was 20,000 from the previous year. But that's because this year we're adding in those internal calls. We'll recall ourselves out for service if we stop to help with a flat tire or something like that. On page 111, this is our kind of new stat, well, same page, where we're tracking LPR contacts. And you could think of this anytime blue lights get on a stolen vehicle, that's what this graph is recognizing. So in December, we had 7 blue lights on a stolen vehicle from those LPR cameras that are throughout the city. They don't track anything other than license plate. They just pick up license plate numbers, and if it registers stolen, it's been a very effective tool. This year we have 32 times we put blue lights on a car that's been stolen through the use of those LPR cameras. In the parks, just want to remind everyone that at Saunders Ferry, the boat ramp is closed for construction, so we're looking forward to that being done and having a new boat ramp over there. And the Walton Ferry realignment project is slated to begin next week. So Casey's going to come up and talk a little bit about that project. There are some websites that you can go to that will give you updates on whenever come up. But just please, if we're going to show you the links here, but pass those out to people in your wards. It will be very helpful as we go through the project.
Yeah, so we had a pretty successful meeting last week with TDOT. A large group of residents came out, and then I know several of you guys were here. So I thought that was really encouraging, a lot of good positive conversation. Business owners that are impacted were able to come and get the questions answered that they had and hopefully feel much better. This is the website that TDOT is managing, and so we will just be utilizing their website for communication since they are managing the project. And as you scroll down, you can see they provide a lot of exhibits and resources about the project, and then there'll be a section there where they're going to update weekly what specific road closures and impacts there may be to traffic. So the key to this is just going to be for residents, communication, communication, communication. We really just want to keep pushing them to know that where they can go to look, to make it a habit that if you drive that way weekly, you should be checking weekly to see what the impacts are and where the progress is flowing in what phase. We'll keep sharing it on our social media as well, but this is going to be key. They also have a monthly newsletter that they have said they're going to be sharing, which is amazing. I will be submitting a list to them with all of your names on it, as well as key staff here that will need it, so that you'll get a monthly newsletter from TDOT about that. And they're going to allow residents who weren't at the meeting Wednesday to have an option to sign up as well, and they're going to be posting that link, and we'll be letting everybody know that if you missed the meeting, you can still sign up to get that newsletter. We did record the opening presentation for those that couldn't be there, and that has been shared on our YouTube channel and as well as on our social and website, so people can go and watch. It's 6 minutes, and it just kind of gives a general overview directly from the horse's mouth, as we like to say, about the project. I think the biggest concern has continued to be the impacts to Main Street road closures, and they shared that night that it's their goal to not have any road closures on Main Street except for after hours. Those would be night closures. So that's what they've shared now, and I think that's the goal. Obviously, there's no guarantee, but that's what they're sharing, and I think that's really encouraging and the message that we're going to keep sharing out.
Any questions for Jesse? Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to remind citizens that February the 1st is tax reduction day on our sales tax. So I just think it's important for us to get on the record that, government is notorious for raising taxes, but on February the 1st, our sales tax on groceries will go down 0.5 penny per dollar.
And
So,
Alderman Robertson, when you say "are," you mean inside the city of Hendersonville?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there any other place? But yeah, I thank you, Jesse, for reminding me of that.
Alderman Collins.
Commercial permits down pretty significantly. It's just January, so is it just too soon to really have anything, or is there anything you're aware of that has changed
We had a really large spike last year.
because of the tornado?
And so
That's right.
this year compared to last year is down, but if you look at last year's, it was really high. So
Okay.
we're not concerned. The
Okay.
planning department is plenty busy
Yeah.
with new projects that have come in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Collins. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it. Alderman Sassy makes a motion to adjourn. We have a second from Alderman Goodwin. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all.